Hey, how's it going? I'm Margo Price.
I'm Courtney Hoffman, and we're here today to talk about the wonderful collaboration we had on the first two songs released from Strays.
I need to come hang at your
Yeah,
place and bartend for you.
well, this goes back to how we met, which was like 6 years ago. I had made a short film called The Good Time Girls, starring Laura Dern, Alia Shawkat, and a bunch of great ladies. And when was writing the final draft of the script, an ex-boyfriend of mine, don't say you don't get anything from old loves, sent me Midwest Farmer's Daughter, and I started listening to it while I was writing, and it just totally influenced me. And I was like, I need to know who this woman is. And I randomly found your manager's contact and like cold reached out. And you happen to be in LA, and you're
Yes.
like, I'll meet you at the Chateau Marmont tomorrow.
I'm so glad that we finally got to collaborate because it's really been a long time coming. I mean, I've known that I've wanted you to direct a music video for a really, really, really long time.
Agreed. The feeling's mutual. In the meantime, since we've become friends, we've had so many adventures that have teed up this video experience quite well, like doing mushrooms at Dollywood.
And I need to mention that when we went to Dollywood and took the mushrooms, we also rented a purple like Barbie Jeep. And then
Oh
we
my
went
God.
when I was like starting to visualize this next album cycle and all the visuals that I wanted to go along with it. It was so wildly psychedelic, and I felt like I couldn't even describe what I wanted to portray. But then when I reached out to you, you were like just a week away from going on an ayahuasca journey.
That was really weird because I had signed up several months before and really looked at it as an opportunity to, discover plant medicine in a deeper way and have a just sort of therapeutic spiritual journey. The week before, they called me and basically like, Margo wants to do like a psychedelic ayahuasca like video. And I was like, okay, well, I'm doing ayahuasca in 5 days. So let me give you half the ideas now, and I'll let you know what happens after. And obviously, I have to be honest, I couldn't do justice to the visuals ayahuasca is capable of, but I could definitely interpret a version of that, and really use and meditate the sense of been to the mountain, which is the song title and such a big part of the lyrics of it, and a lot of the visual stuff that you guys had already shot in the Bentonite Hills, to really integrate that visual component as the drug, that the mountain was the drug. And on the last day of my ayahuasca retreat, they were like, now you guys have all been to the mountain. And they like said that, and I was like, okay. I
What?
felt a kinship. Yeah, I don't even think I ever told you that. Because I feel very
Oh my
protective
God.
to say that like ayahuasca is such a big experience that it's like I felt even the presence of ayahuasca was like, do not commodify me for your little video. And I was like, okay, like bigger life changes taken. But
Yeah.
a few things like in Been to the Mountain, there's this part where she walks in to this child's room. And in my ayahuasca trip, there was kind of like a baby mobile that was like a mobile of death and danger. And so I wanted to recreate that. And Mollie, our production designer, did this amazing job just putting some bones and using a shark
Right.
teeth and like hanging some stuff off of it. And definitely the image of you at the opening in the tea, to me is so indicative of just like what it feels like to have a sense of this big journey you're about to take. Obviously, puking. That's the first thing anyone asks you about ayahuasca. They're like, "Did you puke?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but when you get food poisoning, do you change your life?" Like, no.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I knew I wanted to make a little bit of a moment of the puke, of the vomit, and how to purge kind of is to release and to let yourself go to another place.
I had all of the footage from Bentonite Hills, which I have been wanting to do that for years. The like landscape out there, it looks really soft and really beautiful, and it's like pinks and purples and everything, but it's got tumbleweeds all over it, and the tumbleweeds have like little like barbed wire things. So we were pulling little cactuses out of my feet with pliers at the end of the shoot. And I had
Yeah.
like sand in my eyelashes, and my eyes were just bright red. And for once, it wasn't from smoking a bunch of weed. It was just from being out at Fence Night Hill.
As a filmmaker, that was so exciting was like, I've always really seen you as an incredible on-camera presence.
Struggled with the way that I've looked my whole entire life. And that was the thing that I really loved about Good Time Girls, was just like that everybody in it was so real. It's like,
it feels like such a big moment for you in your music, and just feeling free. And I think, right, you wanted it to feel psychedelic, and what are psychedelic than the release from oneself, the release from what you know about yourself and what you've done previously, and opening those doors. Literally at the end of the last video of Been to the Mountain, and the opening of Change of Heart is opening the door.
well, and that is like why I knew that I wanted you to do it, because this album is about reinvention. It's about freedom. It's about being able to look at yourself in the mirror and look at the things that you don't like about yourself, and, you know, be able to just shed old skin and make new skin. And you definitely breathed a lot of life into my work.
It's a vernacular that to me represents a type of iconography that I think is so symbiotic to country music. It's about lawlessness. It's about taking your own voice and power and kind of sharing it in the world against all odds. There's a wildness to both the landscape that you have to overcome. And I think the best Westerns are those that are rooted in incredible music. That's what I wanted for you. And that was really what I wanted for Change of Heart, is giving you that big country star moment.
When you procured a horse for me, and having the idea to do like these projections on the white horse, like that is still my favorite. That was like my favorite part of shooting, was just being able to watch that as the sun was going down and the moon was full. Also, it felt like everything was just coming together.
Ryan, our projectionist, he's like a very top line projectionist. And I just like called him. I'm like, haven't you ever wanted to project on a horse? And he was like, I mean, I guess I didn't know that was an option. He came out and just made it so credible and looked so good.
Oh my gosh, I know. Even the projections that we did also in the house in Monrovia,
Yes.
up on the staircase and everything.
I don't know if everyone realizes is you guys had gotten a lot of drone footage of these mountains, and the mountains really look psychedelic. They are like tie-dyed layers of different colors and textures. And so we actually, every time you see that kind of very trippy looking stuff, it is just that drone footage, split screen, quad screen pulling out. And because of the movement of the drone and the textures of the mountains, that is to me one of the closest images I could capture of what it felt like to be on ayahuasca.
It really just made the music come alive, because it is a new direction for me, and it is you know, it's out there. I mean, when Jeremy and I started writing it, I was definitely still drinking, just the album in general, and like Been to the Mountain and Change of Heart. But we took like, you know, like a God's dose of mushrooms, and I have not had an ayahuasca trip yet, but when you go there, it's really hard to explain what you feel and what you see. And I always like liken a really big trip like that, like to a conversation with God or something. You know, you feel like you're one with the universe and all that like hippie, like woo woo stuff. But it really, it is really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I think both songs, I think the whole album is incredible, and I can't wait for everyone to hear everything. I feel lucky enough to have listened to so much of your music in my writing process in the last 5 years. And this is such a, I feel like you're free in a way that you haven't been. And I really wanted to give you videos that felt like that arrival, that felt like that entering a new place and entering a new space visually. And, you know, it's just so lucky that obviously my visual style and taste and yours are so symbiotic, and just really wanting to take that kind of psychedelic cowboy aesthetic to the next level and really deliver on the promise of it, and not just kind of like, yeah, everybody says something is psychedelic, you know, but I think for people that have either had that experience or can just, it's like actually an emotional connection to a journey of another dimension or another part of yourself. And that's what this music is. And you feel that when you listen to Been to the Mountain.
It's so funny because when I like, you know, I had kind of wrote like a little treatment idea or whatever and sent it over to you, and it was so, so dark. You know, because like I wanted
in her own video.
I wanted to drown myself with my other self. So I did have the
We all
idea
want that at times.
of multiple me's or whatever. And it was just like, oh, it was going to be the bad part of the trip. But you had the idea to add the choreography, and then you brought in Danny Dolan. So Danny came over and like started teaching us those dances, and then also introduced me to Kathy,
Who plays the devil in Been to the Mountain.
She's incredible. I absolutely adore her, but she really is like future me in a lot of ways. She's like, we were sitting there talking. She's like, I've been sober for 26 years. It's not for pussies, you know, whatever. And I'm like, damn, tell me more, Kathy.
Seeing some of the imagery and kind of playing a little bit of like a Rubik's Cube creatively of some of the stuff you had shot. And one of them was this image of Margo as the devil. And so I started diving into this idea. And one thing that came up for me a lot in my ayahuasca trip was tarot. And right before my trip, I had pulled tarot cards and I didn't like them. And then by the time I was done with the experience, I was like, it was right. It was exactly that. And so I think when you pull a card like the devil, or, you know, these sort of feelings of significance of the star, the devil, and just trying to figure out what would it be like if that was all just aspects of you literally. And my friend Hannah Kitzinger, she painted us these incredible tarot cards of you as these three characters.
That was so great because it was like I had seen an like a woman's like aged hands like handing me the tea, and then which obviously you put the footage of the mountain there. That idea blew my mind. But when the tarot cards came into it, it was like, okay, yes, now it's all coming together, and all the different parts of that are inside me, my psyche. When we were able to like kind of put those as characters in there, like in my mind. I mean, it's so easy to lose yourself in this business, and it is like playing a character, you know. It is like playing a role a lot of times, and to be able to kind of act out a lot of this stuff, it was like therapy for me.
For me, you in Change of Heart playing the horse on the guitar, that was lifted from the Coen brothers, the Ballad of Lefty Brown. So when we were able to approach Scarlett and say, like, do you think she'd care if we played a guitar on her? And then she said this rehearsal, and it was so perfect that I knew like we really had that video. The Change of Heart is really the star story. So you see the seeker, and the seeker at the end of Been to the Mountain, the seeker opens the door, walks into it to keep seeking, to keep finding, to look for this box. TBD, what's in the box? The adventure continues.
Well, and I really love that that the VFX could transform the house in Monrovia, California, and place it into the Bentonite Hills, because that, you know, that was just like one of the crazy ideas that you made actually come to life. And somebody commented that on the video today. They're like, is that house actually there?
And I've gotten the same question. So many people have been like, was the house in the desert? And I know that was a big part of the vision that you and Kimberly had. And like, I really wanted to bring that to life. This is something I've been trying to own. Obviously, we both are in this video, is I really do believe in plant medicine, and be able to celebrate that and not shame it. The whole process of making the video was a testament to that.
I was so emotional, like for the whole entire shoot, especially the shoot day at the house, because like I have only really been on music videos where there was like a small team of people working. But for this project, the way that you got people to come together and the way that they did all respond to the music, it was like, that was really gave me a lot of the encouragement that I needed going into this project, because it's like when you sit on an album for a long time and, you know, you kind of start to get in your head, and everybody was just like so moved by the songs. And then to see what they put together just for me, I did like cry at the end of the day.
Every person I sent the songs to, their response was, I love this treatment. I love these songs. And so I think it was just really fun to be able to share like our niche loves and passions and creativity, and give people something that they're really proud to have been a part of.
One of my favorite shots that like gives me chills is like, we're in the hallway upstairs. It's me, Kylie, and Kathy, and I'm like laying on the floor against the wall, and I just looked like despondent. It was this flashing and the layers there. I mean, yeah, the way that everything kind of came together when we got done with this, with the shoot, which was only 2 days for 2 videos, which is insane. And I was on such a high. I was on such a emotional high. I felt really, really good. And so there was a big come down after that, because it was just, it was like being part of a little like mini movie. One of the scenes that was so much fun to shoot was the very last scene that we shot, which ended up being the first scene, but where I'm just in that velvet chair by the fire and I'm just writhing, and it's like just to be able to like let myself go and like really not being worried about being pretty, because like so many music videos are just like about the, you know, the pageantry or whatever. I was able to be messy on camera, and then you kind of were directing that in a lot of ways. I loved so many of your cues. Obviously the one time you just yelled drugs.
That's as articulate as I get as a director. Also, I was going to say to talk a little bit more about your relationship to dance and movement, because I think that correlates with this new direction that you've taken, and you've had this hesitancy. And I have noticed in a lot of your videos, there's a lot of stillness and there's a lot of kind of composure in your physicality. And I think Danny, the choreographer, really helped get you comfortable with that relationship to body and self.
Oh, 100%. There have been a lot of parts of my past that I have just kind of tried to hide. And, you know, maybe being a dancer, it left me with a lot of conflicted feelings because of the way that the dance community is. And it was not always the best thing for body positivity. And, you know, I had really struggled with anorexia and bulimia, and, you know, not being comfortable in my own skin. So then when I became a musician, it was just like, I'm not going to be in the dance world anymore. Yeah. I don't want to be a part of this. It took me a lot to even attempt it, because when you like mentioned it, I was just like, okay, like it's something that I had been wanting to do and I had been thinking about, but I kept thinking in the back of my mind, I got to take some lessons. You know, I was kept thinking like I need to brush up on my technique and be able to do my turns again. Like I used to be a ballerina. And then Danny's like, no one really cares about seeing anyone do a pirouette, you know, like show me what's inside you. And the things that he was also yelling in the background, you know, to me, he would, at one point, I think he was like, you're not at Coachella. You're not a fairy at Coachella. Like when Kylie came up behind me, I didn't even know she was going to come up behind me.
Oh yeah, I whispered to her and I was like, go in and grab her.
The devil is choking me and we're just struggling and having this like fierce interaction. And it was like, I'm gonna dance with the devil.
In Change of Heart, one of my favorite shots is the one that like slowly goes up your whole body and you're like up there and it goes up your legs and you look so hot and you look so strong and powerful and in your body. And it was such a celebration of seeing you let go to be able to feel confident dancing again. And what a reward it is to see that.
I mean, that is like, there's such a like tide change coming, like in the music business, in the film industry. Obviously, you know, I'm sure you have had to fight your way to get the recognition and the, you know, just the recognition that you deserve.
I think the most important thing is, and I think this goes without saying for you too, is like the work you present speaks for who you are. And that was very important to me with both these videos, was to speak to my relationship to cinema and film, my love of music. I have really great music collaborations with film, TV crossovers with Courtney Love, Shania Twain, some really fun people whose worlds I'm getting to play in with like Miley and Tish. And so this was such a release for me of all of this pent up creativity of not getting to do all these videos that my ideas have been in, and knowing like how capable I would be in this genre because of how much music influences me. You know, Good Time Girls opens with someone playing the banjo. So it's always been a huge part of my creative process. So to be able to just immerse in not just someone's music, but your music and the love that I have for you musically and personally was just a gift. And I'm so proud of them. And I hope that you are too, because I think they really are an arrival of sorts to a new era.
I know. Thanks for being here. Go watch them in order.
In order, yeah. Watch them
They
both
go
back to back.
together.
Little bit of a story there and enjoy. And thanks for listening.